I'm Jefferson Aguilar, and I'll be presenting an informative speech based on the differences between hardware and software. As we may know, nowadays computers are used everywhere. You go to a supermarket like Walmart, and they're at the checkout lines. You go to a mechanic, and they have their own scanners to diagnose what's wrong with the car. You go to a car wash, and they have their own computers to run the cars through the lanes so the car can get washed. And now let's remember that computers are made of two important components, which are hardware and software. Both components have their own use and importance. Also, the hardware of a computer is anything physical that can be touched and seen by a human being, such as the monitor, the keyboard, and even the mouse, which is to control and lets us, navigate through the computer. The hardware part of the computer is what makes a computer turn on and work. Some of the hardware that computers have are motherboards, CPUs, RAMs, video cards, power supplies, and basically, these are very important components for the computer. For example, the CPU processes information, which is then processed and goes to the RAM or hard drive to save that information that was just processed. These are only main components based on the specs of the computer that you might have. And for example, if you have a gaming computer, you might need, and it might be required to have more RAM or higher up video cards and stuff like that. Now let's keep in mind that without hardware, a computer cannot work. It needs at least a power supply, a CPU, and RAM to power on. Furthermore, remember that hardware is physical, so over time it's going to wear out. On the other hand, we have software, which is what lets users interact with hardware in the computer. It's more like a collection of programs that run specific tasks on a computer. And one of the main softwares is an operating system. This gives a user-friendly interface so that people can interact more easily with the computer. Also, there are applications which aren't required, but lets users do certain tasks in the computer. For example, we have Excel, we have Microsoft Word, which a lot of people, students and people at work use to create documents and either save them, print them out, or email them. And also, as I mentioned before, for the hardware, since it's hardware, it's going to wear out at a time. But software, even though it might not wear out, it's going to get to a time that bugs might be discovered in the software, and eventually it has to be fixed. Now you may ask yourself, can hardware work without software or vice versa? Well, in this case, hardware can work without software. The hardware in a computer is what, it needs to do its basic tasks, such as turning on, but it won't be able to display anything to a human being for the reason that there's no software installed in the computer, such as the operating system, as I mentioned. And now I'm going to quote from a source that I used for the speech. The software is often referred to as the brain of a computer. A body can exist without a functional brain. However, like a computer, without a brain, your body is not going to be able to do much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have for this speech and some of the differences between hardware and software. And I hope that from this short speech that I just made, you guys grasped at least the very basics of what these two terms mean and what each has. Let's remember that both hardware and software are very important components in a computer in order to make use of it effectively. Thank you.